guys, SirVern back here, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Switch 2, and you already probably know I'm not into it if you've watched my previous video on the Switch 2, but I think the Switch 2 is going to fail in relation to the Switch 1 sales and how successful the Switch 1 is. The Switch 1 was super successful because it was very affordable. It's a Nintendo product. Everybody knows, Nintendo. A lot of people got back into gaming in like 2020, back when we were all stuck at home, and older people could come back in, play portably, uh, and they had Mario this, Mario that, Animal Crossing, and the Switch One is a good console. It's great for multiplayer. Lots of reasons why the Switch One did well. But the Switch 2, I made some notes here. I think it's too expensive for what it is. I don't think it's too expensive. I spent $700 on my PS5 Pro, so I don't think it's too expensive. It's basically a portable PS4, which is really cool. If you're into Nintendo games, I think it's worth that price. But for what it is, I think it's too expensive, meaning it's not a super powerful console compared to what's out now. And if you're a collector, then Switch 2 is a terrible idea. If you like to own your games, the Switch 2 is not a good purchase. I'm sure that you've heard about the physical games. A lot of them are just going to be keys. Even if you buy a physical game, the cartridge is basically just a key to download the game. Now that's becoming a problem on every single console, including the PS5. A lot of the discs don't have all the data on the actual disc itself. That's a whole other issue, but that's one of the main reasons I'm not interested in it. A console is a console in part because you can still buy physical games for it. To me, that's one of the reasons I love a console. There are all digital consoles that I'm just not interested in at all. I've said this before, and I don't even know if this is true. For me now, the more I think about it, the more I tend to change my mind. But when consoles go all digital, I'm gonna have a real problem with it, and it's gonna make me want to switch to PC. But I'm just locked into trophies. To be honest, trophies and achievements, that kind of thing, is a big deal to me, and it's gonna be hard to get away from. So, and that's another thing. If Switch 2 would have implemented trophies or achievements, something like that, the way Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, I think Epic even has some, Epic Games Store, but everybody has they're so important to me now. I've made a whole video, are trophies good or bad? But I think the main reason that the Switch 2 won't be a success, it may sell 50 million consoles. So that's, it depends on how you look at it, but compared to 120 or 150 million Switch 1s that were sold, it's not even going to come close. And the price is going to have a lot to do with that. $500 for a console and a game is a lot of money for a Nintendo family, meaning, they've gotten used to spending less. The Wii was cheaper than the other consoles. The Switch 1 was cheaper than the other consoles. So, and the games are outrageous. $80 and $90. That's just absurd. For a digital game to spend $80, I'm just not going to do that. And I think a lot of people are going to look at it that way. A lot of people are also going to be turned off to the fact that, a lot of families have multiple Switches for multiple kids. They may have a Switch Lite, which was $200. And then, the Switch One, they'd have one like family unit. There's a lot of families that have multiple Switches, but fewer families are going to spend $500 per kid, or $450 per kid to get the Switch 2. That is just an awful lot of money for families to spend that. Like I said, it's not a lot of money for a system, but for families that have gotten used to spending, $300, $450 is a lot to ask out of them. And then the games is just unacceptable. So say you buy your kids, say you got two kids, you buy them both just the Switch with no game, $450. That's $1,000 after tax, okay, for two Switches. $1,000. To get them two games, that's 160. You're $1,160. The camera, that's another thing that's really dumb. it's a cool idea. You know, I buy a camera for every one of my systems, but what they showed off, it's super choppy. Um, just the quality is not there. Switch Online is not there. Uh, you know, speaking of Switch Online, there's a button on your controller now, a C button for chat that is locked behind a paywall. Man, the Switch 2 is Nintendo is making so many bad decisions with this launch that yes, the pre-orders are going to sell out. They always will for new console launches, but this is going to be a slow roll for them. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'm tired of Mario Kart this, Mario Kart that, Mario Kart 8, um, wonderful game, but this one, the open world one, it doesn't look. I don't know, man. It's just they're asking too much money for what it is. It's an upgraded Switch, which is great, but there's nothing new other than the mouse feature. There's not enough innovation with this one. They didn't take enough risk. You're asking, $450 for the console, which isn't that much money. But what's new? I mean, it's just a worse version of the Switch. Yeah, sure, it plays video games better, but now the games are going to be mostly digital. That's worse to me. It's more expensive. That's worse, obviously. Uh, the pack-in game costs money. Uh, no, it's there's no trophies. There's the online. It hopefully it gets better, but Nintendo Online is not great. Um, it's emulating the backwards compatibility. Like it's there. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it's emulating most of the Switch One games. I mean, there's not there's at launch there's what, two or three like brand new games, and it's launching with Donkey Kong, which I love the old Donkey Kongs, but the new one, that freeze one, whatever, tropical freeze, I did not care for. My wife and I tried to play that and didn't like it. It's just not enough innovation. When the Switch One came out, it had a whole bunch of things that was just brand new. The Switch idea to TV to handheld. There's so many reasons I'm not into the Switch, but this video is basically just my predictions. The Switch will fail. The Switch 2 will fail in relation to the Switch 1. It is going to sell way less. It's going to, after this holiday season, Switch 2 will just be the sales will be abysmal compared to the success of the Switch 1. It's just not going to catch on like the Switch 1 did. This is another Wii U situation, maybe not as bad, but the naming convention is fine, right? Everybody knows the iPhone 15 and then the 16, the Switch 1, then the Switch 2. So people will understand that, but when they go to see what's different, yes, it plays games better, but it's playing, when people like me look at it, it's competing with, like, it's a slightly better PS4. Okay, maybe it's a PS4 Pro. Uh, that's cool, but that's an old system now. This is a brand new system coming out in 2025 that Digital Foundry was comparing to a PS4. Okay, PS5 is halfway through its life cycle now. Um, Switch just does things strange. They're making some weird decisions, and some very unpopular decisions. I'm definitely not interested. If they would have come out with anything like a stationary version without a battery, added trophies or achievement support, um, made it a little more powerful. Like, I don't mind spending $600 on a Switch 2 if it had done things I wanted it to do. But a huge turnoff is the games. Why buy physical games for this? It makes no sense other than to have a piece of plastic on your shelf. It's just creating a whole bunch of e-waste. The Switch 2, Nintendo led the charge with raising prices to games. Now Xbox just announced, that's a whole other video, but now they're raising the prices of their consoles, not just their games. Man, Nintendo is out of their minds doing this. They were knocking it out of the park with the Switch 1. All they had to do was, yeah, sure, increase it a little bit, the price, but keep the game situation. Make people put the games on the cartridges so we own the games. I hope that Switch just gets pirated out of their minds. Or Nintendo. I hope that they're selling us this crap where you don't own your games. You're buying Anyway, you know what I mean. If if buying this stuff isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. So I got no problem with piracy now. Nintendo products, I think Nintendo is on a bad path. This is going to be a tough loss for them. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't agree and you're into the Switch too,